After spending 5 years living with her Aunt Diet, an orphaned girl named Heidi is finally being taken to the Swiss Alps to live with her grandfather. Diet has found work in Frankfurt and can no longer care for Heidi, so she ignores the villagers' warnings about the old man being antisocial and possibly dangerous. As they climb the mountain, Heidi removes her boots and dress so she can run freely in her underdress, enjoying the sense of freedom more than being fashionable. When they arrive, her grandfather, Alpohai, becomes furious and orders them to leave, saying he doesn't want to care for any child. Pretending to obey, Diet walks away with Heidi, but instead of leaving, she hides Heidi behind the house, tells her to stay there, and secretly runs off. When Alpohai realizes what she's done, he shouts after her, but Diet is already gone. Heidi calmly tells him her aunt didn't want her either. Still unwilling to accept her, Alpohai storms into his cabin and locks the door. Left alone, Heidi decides to sleep in the barn among the goats. The next morning, Alpohai gives her a cup of goat's milk for breakfast and then takes her to church. The priest examines Heidi, declaring her healthy and strong. He reminds Alpohai that it's his duty to care for his granddaughter, but when the old man refuses, the priest warns that he'll be heading to Mayenfeld in 3 days and will take Heidi with him if no farmer can use her help. When they return home, Heidi hesitates to enter and asks if she should sleep in the barn again. Alpohai simply replies she can sleep wherever she likes. Since he owns only one bed and one chair, Heidi explores the house and discovers a ladder leading to the attic filled with hay. She decides it will be her room. Later, she tells Alpohai she'd rather stay with him, but he gives no response. The following day, a young goatherd named Peter arrives to collect Alpohai's goats. The old man asks him to take Heidi along for the day and teach her how things are done on the mountain. Alpohai gives her some cheese and sausage for lunch, and Heidi happily joins Peter, running joyfully with the goats and loving the freedom compared to her former life indoors. While they play, Peter sneaks a bite of her lunch and blames the goats when she notices. Suddenly, 2 goats begin fighting, and Peter hits them with a stick to make them stop. Horrified, Heidi makes him promise never to hit a goat again. In return, she'll share half her lunch with him every day. Peter agrees but warns her not to tell Alpohai, since townspeople claim the old man once killed someone. When Heidi returns, she acts nervous and says she'll sleep in the barn again. Alpohai quickly realizes she's heard the rumor. He asks her which she trusts more, gossip or her own eyes and ears. Heidi chooses to trust herself, then hugs him before heading to bed in the attic. The next day, while Heidi continues having fun with Peter, Alpohai works on some carpentry to show how moved he is by her affection. When she comes home, she finds a second chair at the table and hears the good news: she's allowed to stay permanently. Weeks pass peacefully. Heidi plays with Peter daily and even cuts her hair short to feel more comfortable. One day, Peter tells her he won't be around for several months because he's going to school, but promises they'll meet again in the spring. He also invites her to visit his house whenever she likes. Heidi expresses her wish to attend school too. Whenever she and Alpohai go to town, neighbors remind him that a child needs education and friends, but the old man refuses, explaining that winter snow would make the journey impossible. As the cold season begins, things grow dull. To cheer her up, Alpohai carves a little wooden bird for Heidi, but it doesn't help much. So, he builds a sled, and this time, it works wonders. They laugh and glide down the slopes before he drops her off at Peter's for a playdate. There, Heidi meets Peter's mother and blind grandmother. His father is dead, and the family struggles to get by. The grandmother can barely eat because she's missing most of her teeth, and all they have is hard, stale bread. Peter dislikes school and doesn't understand why reading is important for herding goats, but his mother insists he continue. When Alpohai comes to pick up Heidi, she tells him she now realizes how lucky she is to have him. Years pass, and Heidi enjoys a happy, peaceful life with her grandfather. One day, Aunt Diet returns unexpectedly, saying she's found a wonderful opportunity for Heidi, a position with her wealthy employers in Frankfurt. There, Heidi could make friends and attend school. Alpohai refuses, suspicious of Diet's sudden concern after abandoning the girl years earlier. She insists she had no choice back then, but the old man remains unmoved. When arguing fails, Diet pretends to leave, only to sneak deeper into the mountains in search of Heidi. She finds the girl among the goats and repeats her offer. When Heidi says she wants to stay, Diet lies, claiming that Alpohai also wants her to go because he wants the best for her. Saddened and confused, Heidi reluctantly agrees. Peter witnesses everything. Later, when Peter brings the goats home, Alpohai instantly notices Heidi's absence and realizes what's happened. He races down the mountain to town, but it's too late. Diet has already departed with Heidi. The villagers mock him as he stands helpless. In Frankfurt, Heidi arrives at the Sissi-Man mansion, where she meets the butler Sebastian, the maid Tinette, and the strict governess Fräulein Rottenmeier. Rottenmeier immediately disapproves of Heidi's wild appearance, calling her uncivilized. But Diet reminds her that the family specifically requested a pure, untamed child as a playmate for the daughter, Clara. After demanding her payment, Diet leaves. Heidi finally meets Clara, a kind but frail girl who cannot walk and uses a wheelchair. The two instantly become friends. When Heidi accidentally bumps Clara's chair into a table, Clara covers for her, claiming it was her fault. However, Heidi has much to learn to fit in as Clara's companion. The staff bathe her, dress her properly, and teach her table manners. She's forbidden from running, shouting, or roaming freely. She also joins Clara's lessons, shocking everyone when she confesses she can't read. Rottenmeier wants to dismiss her immediately but must wait for Mr. Sisman's return, so the tutor is ordered to teach Heidi the alphabet while keeping up with Clara's education. Heidi quickly adapts to house rules, but she doesn't lose her natural spirit. She still dreams of the mountains every night and hides bread rolls in her pockets whenever she can. Her friendship with Clara deepens, and one day, Clara confides that after her mother's death, she became so weak she could no longer walk. Her father is always away on business, leaving her lonely in this big, silent house. One afternoon, Heidi refuses her daily nap and asks Sebastian to open the window so she can see outside, but even from there, the mountains aren't visible. Sebastian explains she would need to climb the city's tall clock tower to see them. Later, Heidi convinces Clara to sneak out for a walk through the city, as Clara is rarely allowed outside. They find the tower, and Clara waits below while Heidi climbs to the top, but even there, she still can't see her beloved mountains. Disappointed, she descends. While waiting, Clara buys several kittens from a nearby vendor. When the servants discover the girls are missing, Rottenmeier panics and sends everyone to search. Sebastian eventually finds them, and Clara hides the kittens under a blanket so they won't be discovered. Back at home, Rottenmeier tries to scold them but suddenly sneezes uncontrollably. She's allergic to cats. When the kittens jump onto her lap, she screams and climbs onto the furniture, making everyone burst into laughter. At dinner that evening, Heidi is punished by being forced to stand in the corner, facing the wall without eating. Rottenmeier warns that next time, she'll lock her in the cellar with rats. Heidi refuses to accept such cruelty. After dinner, she gathers all the bread rolls she's been saving for Peter's grandmother and tries to leave, but Rottenmeier stops her, scolding her for being ungrateful for the fine clothes and education she's been given. What hurts Heidi most, though, is seeing Clara crying in disappointment before running to her room. From that day on, Heidi's dreams worsen, and Clara isolates herself. Tinette blames Heidi for making Clara sick. Feeling miserable, Heidi visits once Clara's doctor says she's better, reassuring her that she doesn't want to leave because she hates her, she just misses home. Clara understands but begs her not to go, as Heidi is her only true friend. With Heidi back at her side, Clara begins attending lessons again, but reading remains difficult for Heidi. A few days later, Mr. Sissi-Man, Clara's father, returns home, accompanied by his mother, Grandmother Sissi-Man. Rottenmeier isn't thrilled about their arrival. Clara beams with joy, and both Sismans are pleased to meet Heidi. Mr. Sissi-Man is impressed by how much healthier and happier Clara seems, proud of his idea to give her a companion. Rottenmeier tries to convince him otherwise, saying Heidi is wild and unteachable, but Grandmother Sissi-Man decides to judge for herself. That night, she reads a story to Heidi but stops before the end, telling her to finish it herself. Heidi admits she can't read because Peter once told her it was pointless. Grandmother gently corrects her, she shouldn't believe everything she hears. Because Heidi loves stories and wants to know how it ends, she promises to practice reading harder. The next day, Grandmother tells her son that Heidi is a wonderful, spirited child who only needs encouragement, but she also points out that Heidi doesn't belong in such a confined house. Mr. Sissi-Man refuses to send her away, saying Clara needs her, but his mother suggests he's keeping her for selfish reasons, because she eases his guilt over leaving Clara alone. Things grow stranger when eerie noises echo through the mansion at night. Sometimes, Sebastian even finds the front door wide open. The servants whisper about ghosts, though Mr. Sissi-Man doesn't believe it. Meanwhile, Heidi keeps practicing her reading using the book Grandmother left her. Eventually, she manages to read the entire story aloud to everyone. The teacher takes the credit, and Mr. Sissi-Man declares Heidi good enough to stay permanently, much to Clara's joy, but to Heidi's sorrow. Every night, Heidi cries before falling asleep. One evening, While playing chess with the doctor, Mr. Cece Man hears the strange noises again. Both men grab their guns, thinking it's an intruder, but it's Heidi, sleepwalking. She walks downstairs, opens the front door, stares into the distance, then quietly returns to her room and curls up at the foot of the bed, the same way she used to sleep beside the goats. The doctor finds her freezing and instructs Mr. Cece Man to fetch a blanket. When he opens the closet, he discovers piles of bread rolls. Heidi has been saving them all along. She wakes up as the doctor checks on her. When asked if she's in pain, she says her chest hurts. Later, the doctor tells Mr. Cece Man privately that Heidi is suffering from severe homesickness and must be sent home. At first, he refuses, but after thinking all night, remembering his late wife, he changes his mind. The next morning, when Clara asks about the ghost, her father explains it was Heidi sleepwalking because she's deeply unhappy. He adds that they'll be sending her back to the mountains. Clara bursts into tears, furious and heartbroken, and locks herself in her room. Heidi feels relieved yet sad, worried about her friend. She tries to say goodbye, but Clara won't open the door. When it's time to leave, the servants prepare a basket full of bread and treats for her to take home. Heidi gives Mr. Cece Man her wooden bird, asking him to give it to Clara and promising she'll visit someday. After she leaves, Rottenmeier smugly says peace will return to the house, only to shriek moments later when a stray kitten appears. Tinette laughs, picks it up, and names it Heidi. Back in her village, the first thing Heidi does is remove her boots and race barefoot up the mountain. She stops at Peter's house to deliver the food and then runs to her grandfather. Overjoyed, they reunite, and she resumes her old mountain life, herding goats, laughing, and writing letters. This time, Alpohai allows her to attend school during the winter months. They move into a small house in town with the goats. Her new teacher is strict, often using harsh punishments, but Heidi studies diligently. Her classmates tease her for wanting to become a writer, but she continues to dream. Peter still struggles with reading, even when she tries to help. Everything that happens, Heidi writes to Clara, telling her how much she's missed. When Clara receives the letter, she feels guilty for not saying goodbye. Grandmother Cece Man gathers servants and travels with Clara to the Alps. The reunion between the girls is full of joy. Over tea, Grandmother Cece Man asks Alpohai if Clara can stay a few days, offering payment. He refuses the money, saying Clara is a guest, not a burden. Heidi now becomes the teacher, showing Clara how to live freely in the mountains. She trades her heavy clothes for a light underdress, eats without utensils, pets the goats, sleeps on hay, and watches shooting stars. Peter grows jealous of how close the girls have become. One morning, he finds Clara's wheelchair outside the cabin and, overcome by envy, pushes it off a cliff before running away with the goats. When the others discover the missing chair, Alpohai guesses what happened. Carrying Clara on his back, he and Heidi climb the mountain together, letting Clara experience the beauty she's longed for. He scolds Peter for his behavior and makes him stay to watch over them. Amid the flowers and the view, a butterfly lands on Clara's foot. When it flies away, she instinctively reaches for it, and stands up. Everyone gasps in awe. Though walking is difficult, Clara practices every day with Heidi and Peter's help. By the time Grandmother and Mr. Cece Man return to collect her, she can walk on her own. Her father, initially furious about her being taken to the mountains, is left speechless when he sees her standing. Overcome with joy, they embrace, and Grandmother Cece Man gives Heidi a notebook and pen, encouraging her to write stories and ignore anyone who mocks her dreams. After hugging Clara tightly, Heidi returns to her mountain routine, now with her notebook always in hand, writing a little every day under the wide, open sky.